real talk, who does Kennedy peel votes away from? Well, a Harvard-Harris survey out this week does show that Trump's lead over Biden increasing from 2 to 4 if it is a three-way race. But an Ipsos poll out last week concluded that Kennedy takes votes from Trump and Biden equally, and it wouldn't take many to change the outcome. On top of that, Kennedy says there's a plausible path for him to actually end up in the White House instead of either Trump or Biden, even without winning the Electoral College. And you know what? It is not as crazy as it sounds. That's because of something called a contingent election. And he explained a little bit about it to Dan on this show back in January.
If no candidate gets 270 votes, it goes to a contingent election. In the contingent election, the Senate chooses the vice president and the House chooses the president. But according to the rules of the 12th Amendment, each state gets one vote.
Right.
And the congressional delegation has to agree on it. And if you actually look at the composition of the congressional delegations, there's no way that they'll be able to agree on it. Democrats are never going to vote for Trump, and the Republicans are never going to vote for Biden. They'll lose their careers. So we think it's going to end up with a compromise candidate, and we think that that's going to be me.
Not so crazy, right? Look, contingent elections, they've happened before, and other third-party candidates or organizations, including the big money-backed no labels, have talked about that possibility. And money is big. It is a big part of what elections are about. Let's face it, Shanahan, who funded RFK's Super Bowl ad, has a lot of it. As a mega donor, she's bringing big wealth to the ticket, something that RFK alluded to in his remarks today when he talked about the huge war chest that Democrats are bringing to the table and using against him. So now he's got a big money running mate. He's got big media attention. His polling isn't trivial and, in fact, could change the outcome of the election. And even he thinks a contingency election might put him in the White House. You can't dismiss it. The Democrats aren't. Trump won't ignore RFK forever. But there is a difference between plausible and likely, though. It's clear that Kennedy is going to impact the election. Which way? How much? Still not all that clear, but let's talk about it. I'm joined right now by Tony Lyons. He is the president of Skyhorse Publishing and the co-founder of the Super PAC American Values 2024, which is backing RFK Jr. Thanks so much for being here. So your group, backing Kennedy, he announced Shanahan today. She's not a politician. She's never held office. She is politically active. She's a big donor. She's not Aaron Rodgers, so she's got that going for her. Is this the outcome that you were hoping for?
I think this is a great outcome. You know, 70% of the people in this country in 4 different polls say that they would prefer not to have to vote for Trump or Biden. I mean, that's just an astounding number. And I think that when they learn who Bobby Kennedy is and who Nicole Shanahan really is, they're going to recognize that those are the candidates who they really want to run this country. So, you know, there's been incredible censorship that's gone on. There's been incredible vilification. I mean, the DNC is just running this, you know, incredible assault on democracy, that they are not letting the American people know who these candidates are. They don't allow dialogue. They don't allow debate.
Look,
they rig the primaries.
We dedicated a show last week to these groups, for these Democratic groups that are literally going after third-party candidates. We criticized it. But if you can, explain something to us. So this idea of a contingent election.
Sure.
I know other third-party groups have brought this up. It's actually very compelling to note that it would be impossible for Democrats to vote for Trump or Republicans to vote for Biden. That's clear in the House and the Senate. But you got to get to that point first. And is that a serious enough chance that the campaign takes it right now? I mean, is that the idea? Are they counting on that?
So, you know, I think that there is some chance of that, but I think that the much stronger chance is that the American public does not want Trump or Biden. And like I said, you know, we're doing this series of infomercials, of, you know, ads of all kinds, and we're trying to get out to the American public the true story of who these two people are so that they can make a rational decision about who they want to vote for. Biden has already said that he doesn't even want to debate. So we have to get that message out. And I think when we do, the American public is overwhelmingly going to want to vote for Bobby Kennedy. They're going to recognize his authenticity, his integrity, his character.
And Tony, I respect that. We got 30 seconds. Real quick, if there's the possibility that, you know, Biden loses, Are you prepared for the backlash? Because everybody might blame RFK Jr.
You know, I don't think that's the issue. You know, that's part of the strategy that the DNC is using. Bobby Kennedy is a very serious candidate with a clear path to the presidency.
Right.
Take a state like Arizona.
Yep.
You know, he's at 26%. He can win. He can get 2.5 from each of them and win the election.
He is definitely going to have an effect on this.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.